and for the undeserving souls that are sitting in this room. You know, because He loves us. And because He had a plan. And because our God and Father had a plan in that. This Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you a future and a hope." So there it is. God wants to give you a future and a hope. No matter what you've gone through, He wants to give you a future and a hope. And we do have it. And I'm going to start sharing this story. And it's, you know, if I break down, I probably will, to be honest. I'm kind of a crier now. But because I'm speaking from my heart. And I want to tell you about, we'll go to the next slide. I want to tell you about my best friend and how I met her. And I want to first tell you, I've been in LA, Los Angeles for the last couple of years working in film. God has given me a passion for film and a desire to make significant movies. And ever since I was a little boy, I made my first film was Indiana Jones and the Last Cow Patty down on my ranch. It's comedy. And, but I've just always been given this passion, and all the way through high school and college, I was, you know, working in film and TV stuff. And you know, God, it says in Proverbs 16:9, "A man's heart plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps." You know, my plan was to move to LA, and I did that. But I believe God directed me there. I worked for NBC and Warner Brothers, worked for behind the scenes and post-production, did some acting out there. You know, I've always prayed about that girl that God sent my way. You know, I wanted her to be my best friend. A girl that I want to spend my rest of my life with. And I prayed for her a long time. And on my 26th birthday, Elizabeth Toone was in LA. And my little brother and her little sister were friends, and they were both out there. And my brother invited them to my 26th birthday. And I had heard about this girl because she shared a fence line pretty much at our ranch down in Texas. And I'd seen her before and knew how beautiful she was. And I knew also about her reputation, how she loved the Lord. And I just heard about her joy, how happy of a person she was. And this is before I met her. Then on my 26th birthday, she was at my birthday party. And just immediately was just awestruck and by her, just got talking with her. And very soon fell very hard for this girl and became very close friends with her. Just was my best friend, and it is my best friend. We made plans. We started dating, and she was still at University of Texas, and I was in LA. And I said, well, we need a date. We'll go back and forth, fly back. I can fly to Austin. You can fly to LA. When you graduate, you move out here, and then one day we'll get married. And she's like, all right. And so I said, I think it's a big coincidence that you're here in LA, and I've only really met you in passing, and we share a fence line. That's a pretty big coincidence you're out here. I said, I think we need to date. And she's like, okay. And she just smiled, and this girl was just so, any room she walked into was just, she just lights up the room. She through the next year of our relationship, she pushed me towards the Lord, pushed me towards my passions. I was pursuing acting at the time, and I was living on a sailboat, 26-foot sailboat, Marina del Rey, California. There was a bathroom, but it was underneath my queen-size bed. So it was kind of a humbling experience, and she thought it was the greatest thing in the world. And she pushed me towards acting, even though it's a big risk. You have to do juggle a lot of different jobs, so you can have days open for auditions. But she believed in me, and we pushed each other, edified each other, and pushed each other towards the Lord. When she graduated last August, we had plans for her to move out to LA. I packed up I packed up her, helped her pack up her car, and was going to drive her out to LA. And I told her daddy the night before we left, I said, I just want you to know, because they were struggling with her going to Los Angeles. And I told her dad, Mr. Chen, I said, I just want you to know I want to marry your daughter, and I want to be in a financial place to take care of her. But I just want you to know my intentions. I know you're struggling with her going out there, but I just want to be real about my intentions. And so we packed it up and moved out to, we made it out to California. Got her some jobs. I had various number of jobs. I MC big corporate events, which is basically what your programs guys do here, what I do, but for big corporate companies. I acted like a monkey, a fool, if you will, and led dances. And she worked alongside me as my DJ. She worked various jobs alongside me until we got her dream job. She got a job working at ICM for an agency, and she wanted to make her desires became our desires were the same. She wanted to make movies with me one day. That was her dream. She got this job at ICM, and we beat out 2 girls that had law degrees, and got a new apartment, got her established, and life was going how we planned it, and we were celebrating. On November 5th, 2006, this past November, God changed my plans. He changed our plans. That night we had celebrated. I'd written her a note telling her how much God had blessed me, and through her relationship, just thanking her for the last year and a half, and what a blessing she's been from the Lord, and how she's been used to encourage me and just push me towards Him, push me towards my desires that God gave me. And I gave her flowers. She told me a couple weeks before, Luke, why have you never written me a good long note? And I've had girlfriends in the past, and I've never written her a long love note. And this particular night, I was inspired, and wrote her this note, gave her flowers, and just we were celebrating how God had blessed us, and how everything was going how we planned it. And it's okay to have plans, but just know but God is sovereign, and He knows the big plan and how the story is going to end. And so this was a kink in my story, in my life. And I prayed, I'll tell you, for personally how this has affected me. I prayed for 2 years that God would really break me, because I never felt like I'd really been broken by God. And through what happened, through the worst nightmare of my life, He did break me physically and emotionally. The worst I could ever thought of, beyond what I ever dreamed. But I'll tell you, I prayed for it, and personally, I prayed for it. This is how God has chosen to break me. And that night we were just talking about how great life was going. She got her dream job. I just got a new agent I was happy about. She had gotten her new apartment, got established, and we had just had a great 2 months. 2 months to the night she arrived in LA. We went to this birthday party after we celebrated, giving her flowers, and we cried and just said, everything's just happening. This is amazing. And just told her she's my best friend. And 3 hours later, we had gone to this, one of my best friends that Liggett and I grew up with, his birthday party, and we were walking home from the birthday. We were going to our car, and I remember telling her that I loved her. before we started across the street. We looked both ways and began to cross the street. And her heel came, her shoe, her foot came out of the back of her shoe, her heel. And I picked her up like a fireman would and put her over my shoulder. And this is the report of what happened.
Deadly hit-and-run accident. A driver plowed into a man and woman crossing a Hollywood street, and one clue was hiding camera across the street. They have police the driver. CBS 2 Susie Scott is live with more. Susie.
Laura, it all happened here at the intersection of Franklin Avenue and Vincent Del Mar. Police have not released the name of the 22-year-old woman who was hit and killed as she crossed the street. What we do know is that she is a new resident to Los Angeles. From up above, people are all the time. And from down below, no matter how you look at it, seasoned professionals will tell you this Hollywood intersection is not exactly pedestrian friendly.
There's a lot of traffic coming out of the hotel and the coffee shop here, and people need to get to the other side.
Early Sunday morning, a man and a woman crossing the street were hit by a car traveling eastbound on Franklin Avenue.
You heard a really large, high-pitched thump.
The man, 27-year-old Luke Coffey, is in stable condition. The 22-year-old woman, who was thrown 50 feet,
So, this is where God changed my story, how I wanted the ending to be. This girl's dream was to be married, to be a mom. And we didn't even talk about that night how we wanted to be engaged by spring, and how I told her how, told her I'm ready to get engaged. I want to be engaged by spring. I believe God allowed this to happen. He didn't cause it, but He allowed this as a greater plan. And I immediately woke up in my worst nightmare. I was thrown 18 feet in the air by 20 feet and landed on my head. And I woke up. I had told Elizabeth probably 5 times, if I ever lost you, it would be my worst nightmare I could ever imagine. I told her probably 5 times, and she said, why would you even say that? This verse says, 1 Corinthians 13:12, now we see things imperfectly as in a poor mirror, but then we'll see things in a perfect clarity. All that I know now is partial and incomplete. But then I will know everything completely, just as God knows me now. I have questions. And believe me, I still have so many questions. Why God would allow this beautiful young girl to be taken away. I woke up in ICU 3 hours after the accident happened and was crying out from a best friend, where's Elizabeth? And no one told me. They just put their heads down. And I was angry. And I thought to myself, this has got to be a dream. This is a nightmare. This is just a nightmare. I'll wake up. And I was asking every nurse, and finally detectives came to ask me about a car. Do you remember a car? And I didn't remember any car. A car that hit us going 65 to 80 miles per hour. Like I said, I went 16 feet, or 18 feet by 20 feet, landed on my head. They told my parents it was a miracle that I was alive, and I didn't want to be a miracle. And the detectives finally told me Elizabeth had passed away, and I screamed out. I said, no, God, how could you do this? How could you allow this? What have I done to deserve this? And why didn't you take me? Why didn't you take me, Lord? I'm older, 5 years older than this girl. She's such a being of light for you. How could you allow this?